Check this out. That's like Superman without his undies. Real pros don't walk the usual path. A regular young guy actually dropped $100 to take home from a 90-year-old man an antique machine that was already covered in rust. The old guy said, "This thing is at least 100 years old. It might have even seen the tail end of the first industrial revolution." The young guy got really excited when he heard that, like he had brought home a real treasure. Right after he got it home, the antique was covered in thick layers of rust. You couldn't see any of its original metallic shine. Even its shape and outlines were blurred. The screws were all rusted stuck. The gears were fused together into clumps. Just touching it with your hand left a reddish-brown rust stain on your palm. The young guy didn't jump right into fixing it. He walked around the machine a few times, closely studying every detail, silently figuring out which parts could still be saved, and which ones needed to be remade. This old buddy may be aged, but with some care, you can always bring back its former edge. The first step of restoration was a complete teardown. The young guy brought out a whole set of tools, from screwdrivers and wrenches to small hammers and calipers. Each one got its turn. He first removed the outer casing and decorative pieces, carefully taking off each old rusty metal plate, setting them gently aside. Then came the crucial internal structure. All those gears, links and drive shafts of different sizes were slowly removed one by one and laid out neatly. By the end of the disassembly, there was a whole floor full of parts, dozens of small components, all arranged with the order of a blueprint. Looking at all those parts on the table was like seeing a century-old industrial wisdom spread out before you. After disassembly came the most tedious cleaning stage. The young guy soaked the big parts in rust remover solution. The strong smell drifted out. Rust flaked off and bubbled up on the liquid surface bit by bit. Wearing gloves, he used a wire brush to scrub off the stubborn rust. His arms got sore, but he didn't stop. The small parts went into an ultrasonic cleaner. High-frequency vibrations shook the dirt out from the crevices. The rusty water turned darker layer by layer. A few hours passed. The originally dark and blotchy iron gradually revealed the natural shine of the metal. That kind of change was like watching an old tree sprout new leaves. It brought an indescribable feeling of satisfaction. After cleaning, many parts showed new problems. Some gears were heavily worn, with obvious chips in their teeth. Some drive shafts were slightly bent, unable to spin properly at all. The young guy picked out these key parts, brought them to the lathe. He turned the lathe on. Sparks from the metal against the cutting tool flew bright. He worked while measuring, making sure the diameter of every shaft was exactly right. For the badly worn gears, he even welded them by hand, then machined and sanded them down, until the tooth shape was almost identical to the original. This process might seem cold and mechanical, but it actually holds a lot of patience and warmth. After all the parts were restored to their original state, it was time for surface finishing. He first used a coarse grinding wheel to remove deep rust and scratches, then switched to fine sandpaper for precision polishing. After hours of repeated rubbing, the metal surface finally became shiny like a mirror. Finally, he even applied a layer of anti-rust oil, wiping it gently, giving the metal a soft luster, as if all the dust of time had been wiped away. Assembly was a test of precision. Following the original disassembly order, he put the clean parts back one by one. The meshing between gears had to be just right. Too tight and they'd lock up, too loose and they'd slip. He would stop every now and then, turn it gently by hand, feeling how smoothly the mechanism moved. Every time he tightened a screw, his eyes showed focus and certainty, like a surgeon doing heart surgery on a patient. After all the parts were back in place, came the real tuning phase. He adjusted the position of the needle bar, calibrated the feed mechanism, and fine-tuned every gap. He test-spun it several times. The once dull clump of iron gradually made a crisp clicking sound, like a long-lost heartbeat starting up again. At that moment, the young guy couldn't help but smile, as if he and this old machine were reborn together. When the restoration was fully complete, this antique sewing machine looked brand new. The body had a bright silver shine, paired with a modern purple base, not only sturdy and functional, but also with a touch of style. Most importantly, its function was fully restored. Step on the pedal, the needle moves up and down, fabric feeds through smoothly, the stitches are straight and even, just as good as any modern machine. Seeing this, aren't you amazed too? If this kind of craftsmanship moves you, don't hold back. Hit like and leave a comment, so more people can see the power of working with your hands. How much do you think this old antique is worth now? If it were you, would you be willing to keep it in your home? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. In the next episode, we'll bring more stories about old things getting a new life. Thanks for sticking with us all the way to the end. See you next time.